He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. She's having an identity crisis. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This one's wife doesn't actually know who she is. She thinks she does, but she doesn't. First of all, she doesn't know that she's a narcissist. She knows that people say that she is. Her narcissism causes her to reject that. How can I be a narcissist when I'm a loving mum, a devoted wife, a kind person, a bananatarian, a philanthropist, that I love animals and rescue chickens, that I have dogs, etc.? No, I'm not a narcissist. Those are just the rantings of the haters, and that awful man, H.G. Tudor. The evidence demonstrates that she is one, but her narcissism will not allow her to accept that that's what she is. Instead, she is lots of different things, although she doesn't recognize this. She's lots of different things, generated by the fact that her narcissism requires her to be lots of different things in order to get to the prime aims, and she becomes different things dependent upon who she is dealing with. This results in a problem for this one's wife. Where a less prominent narcissist operates as a chameleon, far fewer people notice the difference, because there's likely to be a degree of consistency with regard to the people that they're dealing with. So, for instance, the friends get one version of the narcissist, but they don't get to see the other version of the narcissist that is the one that operates at home. The work narcissist is another version, which invariably isn't shown elsewhere in the narcissist's life. Through compartmentalization, the narcissist keeps the various aspects of their life separate so they don't bleed into one another and thus threaten control. It doesn't always work. There are instances where a family narcissist gets to see how the individual behaves at work and is rather surprised at the difference that they witness. And there are other instances of how those differences can come to the fore. But in general terms, it's less obvious because the narcissist is more able to compartmentalize people into different aspects of their life, and they're not subjected to public scrutiny in the way that this one's wife is. This one's wife finds herself subjected to that scrutiny because of the necessity of her need for fuel and control, etc. This drives her to put herself on a prominent platform whereby she is looked at, talked about, commented about on a near daily basis. There are other famous people who don't appear every day. There are periods of time where they're not spoken about, that they're enjoying their lives privately, they're not involved in publicity, etc. But for this one's wife, because she doesn't actually have a proper job, she has plenty of time to keep spunking stuff out on Instagram, of turning up at award ceremonies where she's bought a gift for herself, namely an award, albeit that's not happening as much these days, and generally ensuring that each and everything that she's done is commented about in PR puff pieces or is picked up generally by the press. The problem for this is that because she's so overexposed, we are all able to see the different identities that she utilizes, and we can see the comparison of them so that she is exposed in that manner. She doesn't see it because, again, her narcissism blinds her to it. But what it leads to is basically an absolute mess, a complete clusterfuck. Why? Because she tries one thing and moves on to the other. She wants to be a certain thing to certain people and then is a certain something else to somebody else. A great example of this is in relation to her heritage. She was born in the United States, claims to be 43% Nigerian, claims that she was Maltese, that she has then issued claims where she's demonstrated affinity to other places. What's happening there? Each time she goes somewhere, she talks about how it's home or that your family, etc. Because in that moment, her narcissism chooses to cause her to say that, to try and flatter people. Now, that would work apart from one thing. She's heavily reported on for reasons that I've just explained. So that earlier on when she talks about how she's Maltese, then all of a sudden it's reported that she's 43% Nigerian. And then we hear about the fact that there is some other influence within the familial makeup. This is all laid bare as she seeks to assert control over different groups through this attempted affinity with them. The more that she does it, the more that she becomes exposed for the inconsistencies. Ditto with the various stories that she tells. All of a sudden she's been backpacking in France, which was never mentioned before, because she's trying to be a certain thing to a certain audience. She tries to be the girl boss, and then she wants to be the trad wife, then she wants to be the bananatarian, then she wants to be the philanthropist, then she wants to be the content creator, then she wants to be as a mum, then she wants to be the hugely attractive debutante. Once again, her narcissism selects those things in order to control different groups, but then we get to see the totality, the spectrum, so that basically she has no idea who she is by trying to be lots of different people to lots of different groups for the purposes of the prime aims. And this results in an identity crisis. And this has bled into her latest venture. And this is something that's been picked up by Margaret Hartman, writing for Intelligencer, who states, well, before This One's Wife As Ever products launched on April the 2nd, it was clear that confusion was at the heart of her brand. Shouldn't her jams and teas have gone on sale when her Netflix show launched a month ago? Yep. Why is the show called With Love, This One's Wife, while the home goods line is named after a different sign-off phrase? This is because she operates in the moment. She doesn't think things through adequately. It's because she has copied somebody else, Pamela Anderson, with regard to the show, and then has copied somebody else, Diana, with regard to the sign-off phrase. And therefore, in the moment she thinks, oh yes, I'll utilise that phrase, which is the one that's pinched from Pamela Anderson, that sounds kind and empathic and homely. Ooh, yes, as ever, that's how I sign things off after copying Diana, Princess of Wales. I'll call my brand that. Presumably somebody did point out to her, why don't you have it the same? And she'll dismiss it because that's a threat to her control. The article continues by explaining, should that name be styled as ever or as ever? She picks up on the difference between the capitalisation of the E in ever, or as This One's Wife does, with a lowercase. And who exactly is This One's Wife? An expert homemaker graciously sharing her recipe for homemade dog biscuits, or a novice eager to learn from her celebrity friends? Real life fairy tale princess, okay, Duchess, or chill yet stylish California girl espousing the joys of Jack in the Box? And the point is, she's all of those things, yet none of them. She wants to be all of those things because in each particular moment her narcissism selects that persona to pursue the prime aims with regard to a particular group of people, and does so in a superficial and fake way because she isn't actually any of those things, it's just an artifice. The journalist continues by explaining, I had hoped that the As Ever launch might provide some clarity. Instead, I realised that in addition to being confused about what her whole deal is, This One's Wife has no idea who I am. Thus, This One's Wife doesn't understand the audience because she doesn't care about the audience. It's all about her. You're just going to buy it because it's her. She's not interested in the demographic of those that might purchase it. Everybody will want to buy it, won't they? Because she's universally loved. There's one thing This One's Wife does get right about me, writes the journalist. I'm a lady who's highly susceptible to the suggestion that I should slather everything in slightly overpriced raspberry jam. As Ever's initial collection includes 8 products, 3 teas, honey, raspberry spread, shortbread cookie mix, crepe mix and flour sprinkles. Each costs a few dollars more than an equivalent product you'd find in Whole Foods. For example, the teas are $12 for 12 sachets and the jam is $9 or $14 if you go for the keepsake packaging. But these aren't outrageous Goop-esque prices. I can't speak to the quality of the products or the ordering process, as everything sold out in an hour on Wednesday morning. While that seems like a sign of success, we have no way of knowing if As Ever has sold 50 or 5,000 packages of shortbread cookie mix. So, All I could do on launch day was peruse the newly unveiled product information and read a New York Times profile that takes us inside this one's wife's real kitchen, as opposed to the fake one where she filmed the Netflix show. This journey through the This One's Wife lifestyle brand brought on a mild existential crisis. Each product page includes an item description and several of This One's Wife's tips for enjoyment. These ping-ponged between insultingly basic and depressingly out of reach. For instance, this is what's suggested in relation to tips for enjoyment for herbal peppermint tea. 1. Cozy nights by the fire. Steep in hot water and share with loved ones after an indulgent meal. Basically, making tea. Number 2. Midday flavor boost. Steep in hot water and share with loved ones after an indulgent meal. Right. So basically, she's telling you how to make tea, which then gives you cozy nights by the fire, midday flavor boost. Absolutely fucking useless. Basic information that's replicated. And this demonstrates how this woman is clueless. The journalist writes, This One's Wife felt the need to explain twice that tea is prepared by steeping bags in hot water, resulting in a flavourful beverage that can be enjoyed at midday or by a fire. It felt a tad insulting. And it just demonstrates that she doesn't think about what she's actually writing or endorsing. Remember, This One's Wife is essentially starring in a film of her life. And so what you're subjected to is her thinking that it's all beautiful and wonderful and dreamy. And so that when she's making a cup of peppermint tea, it's actually a cozy night by the fire. And when she's doing it again, it's a midday flavour boost. It's making a fucking cup of peppermint tea. Nothing more, nothing less. But This One's Wife seeks to elevate it by describing it as a midday flavour boost. This is symptomatic of this mediocre mid-range narcissist, whereby she is basic, but through her whole life she's thought that she was far more, driven by the delusion of her narcissism, which causes her to come out with this kind of claptrap. Here are the tips for the herbal hibiscus tea. 1. Childhood memories of wonder. Bath. Brew with the warmth of the sun. Right. Then serve over ice with a touch of honey for a sip of nostalgia. 2. Cocktail hour. Steep with sugar and cook down to create a hibiscus simple syrup to elevate happy hour and add both brightness and a subtle tartness to your choice of mixed drink. Think hibiscus G&T. 3. Surprise and delight. Freeze into ice cubes to add a pop of colour to your water or lemonade. Great for kids' water bottles too. The journalist writes, This had me reeling. Am I doing enough to create childhood memories of wonder for my family? How exactly do I cook down hibiscus tea into a simple syrup? Am I supposed to be hosting virtual happy hours for co-workers I mainly interact with on Slack? Should my loved ones be using clear glass water bottles so they can see hibiscus tea ice cubes I lovingly brew, freeze and add to their drinks each day for a pop of colour? You see, once again, This One's Wife doesn't consider the practicality of all of this. She wants to be relatable, but shite like this demonstrates that she has no relatability whatsoever. Next, the journalist turned to the Times piece for some clarification on whether This One's Wife wants me to relate to her or aspire to be her. At first it seemed like the former, as she declared that Kraft cheese and Wonder Bread make the best after-school snack. Yet the As Ever website suggests that after a long school day, children should be greeted with freshly made crepes. Tips for enjoyment for the crepes. 1. Date night with your beloved. 2. After-school snack for the kids. Rolled and filled with chocolate hazelnut spread, served with a glass of milk, and followed by a cosy cuddle. Blech. 3. Sunday morning with friends or family. Maybe this is all for Prince Harry's benefit. The Times reports that when he's out, This One's Wife kids are mainly eating food handcrafted by the good folks at Tyson and or Ida. Whether it's just her and the kids for dinner, she said, she often relies on chicken nuggets, veggie burgers and tater tots. It's unclear if This One's Wife tosses flour sprinkles on those tots or if they're more of a breakfast garnish. Another tip for enjoyment, make every bite a visual feast. Add flour sprinkles on salads, desserts, and even kids' breakfast plates for an extra layer of joy. Oh, fuck off. We eat with our eyes first, so why not make every meal as gorgeous as it is delicious? By the time the journalist got to the end of the Times piece, I felt I was annoying this one's wife. Don't I understand her journey from super relatable, mildly famous person to literal royal who is still very relatable? I've consumed a lot of Martha Stewart content and tons of amateur cooking videos on TikTok. I'm fine either way. I just need the Duchess to tell me what she's going for. When Martha tells me I can make a souffle as perfect as hers, we both know it's just a fantasy, and that's okay. If this one's wife truly believes I can replicate her lifestyle because we're both normal 40-something working women with slightly above average crafting skills, that's fine too. What's stressing me out is this one's wife wavering between acting like I've never made tea and assuming I regularly throw together champagne honey vinaigrette for my ladies' lunches. Her tips to enjoy for the ladies' lunch with rosé reads as follows. Enjoy the honeycomb on a cheese board for beautiful bites paired with meats, crackers and fresh fruits. Follow it up with quiche, an arugula salad dressed with a champagne honey vinaigrette, and a joyful toast to friendship. Perhaps it's not fair to expect this one's wife to have a consistent brand identity. Sometimes I eat fresh-baked muffins, writes the author, with fancy jams, but most mornings I cook my breakfast in the microwave. Here, maybe flour sprinkles would make my Jimmy Dean Delights frozen egg sandwich more joyful. Don't put me or this one's wife in a box, unless, as this one's wife recommended earlier this week, you're using her jam's keepsake packaging as a time capsule to remember this pivotal moment with me. For $14, that jam box better contain multitudes. Another critical review, an educated review, and pointing out the identity crisis that exists with this one's wife. She doesn't know what she is. She doesn't know who she's selling to because she doesn't care, because she's high-handed and arrogant. And on the one hand, she's treating you like a moron, telling you how to brew tea. And then, as this journalist points out, then on the other hand, she's engaging in the highfalutin nonsense that she writes and you've just heard me describe. This is because she's pretentious. This is because she's trying to be something that she is not, something that occurs with her on a daily basis. But it all stems from the fact that because of her narcissism, she tries to be lots of different things to lots of different people and ends up being nothing. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.